The mask is it's everything, you know. I think it's something that I'll fight for if it would have to come down, you know, to get into a rivalry. And it just means a lot, you know, for like, and every time I see a mask, I'm always just like for one of my masks, I was like, damn, I've always wanted when I was a kid, I'll always be outside wanting to buy masks, and now I have my own masks, and kids are gonna be wanting to buy these, you know. I feel like this mask, I want my mask to be like ghosts, like maybe máscaras, blue demon. I want the whole world to recognize this mask one day.
So, on our new series on the PGTK podcast, we're going to talk about the gear that a lot of these wrestlers have. And part of it is the action, part of it is the athleticism of being in the ring. But the gear is very, very much important. And what better way to have talking about the gear that these wrestlers have? We have Epydemius Jr. on the program. We've had him for a second time. We talked about
Yes.
his career, but let's definitely talk about your ring. But first of all, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me again for the second time. And this
All right.
time, it's not just talking about wrestling, but it's about, you know, talking more deeper about who we are and what we
There,
represent as our gear.
there we go. And we've mentioned it on the episode, but definitely do listen to the first episode because we did talk about the mask that you have. And
Yeah.
if you can repeat how your mask design came to be, where did that
I
come from?
it actually just like we were thinking at first, like from with Epi sir, we were thinking like what we should do, and we were kind of looking at his mask because he had, you know, he had it like fully covered with no shield in the
Mm.
front. But then like he upgraded it with the shield, and I told him I really like the shield. But then he was like, he also really liked the old fashioned like fully covered type mask. So then
And for
from there,
you,
yeah,
yeah.
and from there, you know, we just kind of like came together with the design, and he really liked this Spider Man gimmick that he did once, and I was like, I think we should do like a first gear like that, you know, just to surprise the people.
And I'm curious too, as the masks started to evolve, what were some changes that you implemented to either make it look cool, to make it safer for you to use? What were some of those steps that changed that mask design over the years?
At first, the mask was just it was like I think the same concept, nothing much changed, but I think it was just to make it more easier for me to wrestle and have like better matches and be consistent. Because when I first started my mask, I have it here. Like, let me grab it real quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So in my first mask, there was this one, this Spider-Man mask. This is
Oh,
my first ever mask, and so here when I first started wrestling, as you see, I have like no holes here, no breathing holes in this area. And the eyes are also like covered, so like it was also hard for me to see and breathe, and I would just wrestle like that. And at first it was fine for me, you know, I had all the conditioning in the world for sure, you know. But then I started making it easier. I made the holes, and then now I usually do the eyes open, and sometimes, you know, I start. Sometimes I'll go back to the eyes closed to, you know, just make it a style for me, just make it look more aggressive. But now I usually like having the eyes open so I can see easier in like dark venues, or like when the ring is just all black. I just can't see if I have the black thing covered. So I just made things easier for me to see and to breathe throughout the match.
and how has the art design? How has your dad kind of played into it, and how did the design transform into your own?
The design, it kind of like he made the basic format, but I told him like all the colors that I really liked, that I wanted to use, all the all the like textures that I add to the mask and stuff like that. Like, and him, he usually like keeps the hair and he makes it super thin, and he stretches it out and makes it thin. But I usually just like to keep it, you know, just like that, flat, let it just be like that. But he likes to stretch it out and make it thin, like little strands. But I like it thick, you know, make it look bigger.
Yeah, I'm curious because like you do have like the tiny hair strands. Has that ever been a hazard whenever you wrestle, or you had to work around it so that you can still use those hair strands as you're wrestling?
The hair strands haven't really been a problem. It's kind of just giving me, like a look, like if I have hair or something. But I've always wanted to change it up. Sometimes I think of like braiding it or adding some different style of like of this type of strands. But I think sooner or later you'll see me with like a braid strands or something like that. But it's coming. It's coming.
Has a wrestler gotten away of the hair and they're like, "What are you doing with that mask?" Like, has a wrestler been like, "Yeah, you got to work on that hair"?
No one really has told me like about the masks. Everyone's always seen the mask, and it's always been like, oh, that mask is awesome, and
Oh,
I've
okay.
always loved something like this. In my mind, I've always wanted a mask with like these things and this, like this was always my favorite concept, and like I'm happy that it happened.
Yeah, because I saw the first time I saw you in a match with the hair strands. That was the first thought that I came to mind was like, man, those wrestlers are going to have a hard time. But as I got to see a lot of the matches that you're on, it's part of the aesthetic of how that mask came to be. And with the number of designs that you have, do you remember how many changes or designs that you've done over the years?
I think throughout the years, like how many gears I've had, I think I've had like about like at least in 2 years, I've had like about 12 different gears. But I think I want to try to make more like cosplay gears like now coming in. I want to make a lot more since I know Epi Sir loves making cosplay gears. I do too, but I also love just making color combinations. I love having just clean masks. But sooner or later, I'll start. I love making like the Mortal Kombat ones when we did the Sector or the anti venom. But sooner or later, I'll pop out like something really amazing that like I've always wanted to do it. I have it in mind, and it'll be a surprise for sure.
And I'm curious because I was at AEPW doing some ring announcing, and you've had some mask changes, and especially if you are playing the heel or face, has that mask change on that Spider-Man design, or do you tend to keep it different to distinguish that you are going to be the heel or that you are the baby face in a match?
When I run like when I'm in a baby face scenario, I'm usually running like bright colors. Try to really so people see me. And when I'm a heel, I'm usually wearing dark colors. I usually wear dark colors with a brighter color, as you can see here, with like black and then like the bluish pink. But it still makes it make me look pretty aggressive, and which that's what I like. It makes me look aggressive, but I still have that, you know, that baby face side of me, in me still.
Mm. And especially now, I'm thinking about this too. Out of the designs that you have, and I'm sure you have many mask designs, is there a particular match that you're fond of wearing the mask as you started to wrestle, or you're kind of like just like, this is the same mask I'll wear? But do you have a mask that stands out during a match? And you got the reaction, whether it's your opponent, the ref, the fans. Like, is there one that comes to mind?
There's this one that I had. It was the very first mask that it was the very first gear that I did. It was with the tiger one, the one I used for the Baracho shows. And that gear, the first time I did it, the Cheeto print, I wore it at Houston versus Dante Lyon, and that match was really good. Like it was an amazing match. I loved it, and like I was going out to sell merch, and I didn't expect to like make something out of it, and or make much out of a merch setting. And I go out and I sell that mask that I wore for the first time, and I sell the mask to someone, and someone was like, "Oh, I just really love that mask, and that match was amazing." So like that match and that mask is like always I've always have it in mind because it always like gives me hope, things because it's always like you come in without thinking nothing and something always comes good. So it's like always have that in mind. So that mask is really important to me, and I told Dante as well, like, "Hey, bro, like." I sold I sold the mask I wore versus you, and he's like, "Oh, that's awesome," and I was like, "Yeah, that's dope." So someone has that mask, and it's a really great mask.
Yeah, because like especially, and I'm learning this as I started to do a lot of wrestling coverage, and a lot of people do remember a lot of luchadors just based on their mask. You know, Mil Mascaras,
For sure.
especially here in Austin, we have Insane and Verdissimo, and to have that reaction, that must have been a great feeling from fans. You're like, dude, I love your mask. Like, has that stuck with you ever since when people were like reacting a certain way during the Baracho match?
For sure, yeah. Like the at first when they rip them, like when they've ever ripped them, people are always like, "No, that mask was so amazing. Like, why would you have to rip it?" And like the masks have just been like getting better and better. And sooner or later, I'll have like amazing masks that I would just have just for display. I think. Like I think I'll just get those masks that are just really amazing just for display. Now I don't think I'll ever wear them. I think I'll just wear them for like presentations.
Yeah, and it's interesting that I was at Apocalypto at the time of this recording. This was a couple of weeks ago, and you were in a hardcore match with Dimitri and with Insane and with Arrow Jr. Now there was a moment in the match where your mask did get ripped off. Did you
Yes.
ever take that personally during a match, or is this something that you have to bear with? Because all these mask designs, like they are carefully crafted. You put
Yes.
your heart and soul into it. In this match, when that mask got ruined, did you ever take it personally, or you're like, it's just part of the match, just keep going with it?
I mean it I take it personally, but it's something that you don't know is gonna happen or you might know is happening. For example, because I went in and my target was already Dimitri. You know, Dimitri is someone that I idolize and I love for the deathmatch wrestling because I love watching deathmatch wrestling. And every time I see Dimitri, it's like it's amazing. But now being in that ring with him in a deathmatch, it's kind of like okay, now I'm going for the I'm gonna go for the top guy and I'm gonna go for you. So I think he took it that as a threat and he really ripped that mask. So I also took it offensive, you know, but it's something that had to happen. You know, if you wanted to give those skewers, you had to rip the mask for sure. You know.
Man, so that it was a spur of the moment. You didn't expect it.
Yeah, I didn't expect it, but you know, I think it just made it easier for him to put those skewers in. You know.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But like after the match, I'm sure that Dimitri's like, yeah, it's part of it. Let's roll with it. Did you ever? I'm sure you moved on from that moment, and you had to
For
change
sure, yeah.
masks if you had to go after the show.
Definitely. That mask, Juan, the promoter, actually has it. You know, he kept it. I gave it to him. I was like, you know, just as far as the memory, you know, as a death match, you know, that I had with you, and he kept it.
Here are my hopes and dreams. You just
Yeah,
hand that over.
for sure. You know, it's a memory, a death match with at Barancho, and he kept it definitely.
There you go.
And
And okay, good.
I also love, for example, Arrow Boy. His masks are also really good. Like and like for me to be in a match with him, it also means a lot because I love him. He's like an idol, another idol of deathmatch wrestling for me, and also because he doesn't just do deathmatch, he also does regular lucha, and he's really good at it. You know. And so
Yeah,
Arrow Boy has really amazing masks too. So really recommend watching his like gear as well.
yeah. I'm curious too. Like when you take other inspirations from other luchadors, um, how do you manage to really put a spin on their design? Now, of course, it's different if it's blatantly taken off, which I'm sure you're
Yeah,
not. I'm sure you have your
sure.
own designs, but to have inspiration from other wrestlers, how did you take their designs and make them your own?
There's like some designs or like color schemes that you take from others and you kind of just make it into your own or like change the different materials that add to the mask. But I usually just grab color schemes from other masks that I like and I'm like, oh, that those colors are just really good and I add them to mine. Or like when I want to do a like a type of a collab mask, like a fusion mask. Like for example, when I did the Laredo Kid one, so it was like regular my mask, and then it was his spikes on the back, and it was like a fusion mask, and people really loved it, you know. So I think it's something that I'll do later on if I have another tag partner like that. I really wanted to do a mask half and half, me, Epydemius Jr. and half Arrow Boy for that match at Baracho, but that match came too fast. I couldn't get the gear ready.
Yeah, and going back, we're going to talk about your match too with Houston Hendricks, and to have multiple masks, because I think that was Shimbashi, that was Danny Ryan. I forgot who the third
Yeah,
person was. What was it like seeing the mask on someone else? Now, is that like, is that an exciting thing, or what were your thoughts when you talked to Danny and Shimbashi? Like, hey, I want to have these masks and be in the posse when that happened.
it's weird seeing them in masks, because it's not you, but at the same time, it's awesome because it gives other people that inspiration that like, hey, I could wear his masks. But also like it gives me like that excitement because they also like want to wear it and they're like, hey, I'm happy to have this mask on me, so it gives me also a good vibe.
So you're kind of, you're basically like, it's a badge of honor because it's someone else wearing that mask
For
for
sure,
you for that particular match.
definitely.
Yeah, um and we're not going to talk about the mask. I'm sure every wrestler does have and I want to ask this. I should have talked about this in the last episode. Um your wrestling gear has the H1N1.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
Well, okay, so those like the H1N1 just came like really random, but like our gimmick, our persona is like a pandemic, the epidemic pandemic, and the first ever tights that I had were just like a Spider-Man, like Spider-Man tights, and then I grabbed other tights like for other gears, and it was just like a Mortal Kombat tights, and then I grabbed another gear, and it was just like white simple tights, and I was just like,
Wow.
I was just like, I want to find some tights that I'll have, but with different colors, but it's the same style. And this luchador from Laredo, he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, Epi sir gave me these tights a long time ago, bro, before like you even started wrestling." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, he gave me these and he didn't like them. Like they were for him, but he didn't like them." And I was just like, "What?" And he shows them to me, and it's the ones that I wear today, like the same logos, same everything, H1N1. And I was like, I really, really like those tights. Like those tights are nice, and I like the H1N1 because it gives like people think about H1N1 and they're like, oh, it's a pandemic, it's a virus. And I'm like, I think that's what triggers what we are when people see it.
Ah.
So I was like, okay, I'll like those. I like those tights. So I just started wearing them, and then I just started grabbing different colors of the same tights.
That's so. It was a hand me down. That
Yeah,
was basically a hand me down. They were
it
like,
was
"Geez, that's."
It was a hand me down, but I love the colors, the scheme it was, and I was like, I think I'll just stick to this, and then I just added different colors and stuff, and like it just became a really nice gear.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this too, and especially with every wrestler that has their gear, and for you at least, for your gear, what does that signify to not only your wrestling style but also how to present yourself to the fans who may not have seen you multiple times?
For sure. Like I always think of like this. This is always my idea. So like when every time I debut somewhere or make my first presentation somewhere, I never like wearing like a cosplay gear, like a Spider-Man or a Sub-Zero or whatever gear. Because if you go in like that, they're gonna think Spider Man, Sub Zero. Oh, that's Spider Man, that's Sub Zero. But they're not gonna think of, oh, that's that's Epydemius Jr. So I always like to go in as like a regular mask, a regular beautiful mask, and who I am, and I like to always represent something of who I am, so people know like what I'm trying to represent and who I am. So they see me and they know exactly what I'm trying to tell them who I am.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed in some matches that you have, where did the jacket come from?
The jacket, it was a very inspired from Will Ospreay and like Japanese wrestling, because I also love Japanese wrestling, and like the way everyone has a good really beautiful presentation. I just wanted something like that as well, you know. And I just got the some ideas from like Will Osprey, and I just told my gear maker like, hey, can you make an idea of like these jackets, but make it into my style? And he didn't respond at all. And he just told me, okay, give me like a month or so. And I was just like, oh, okay. He waits a month later and he just sends me the pictures, and it was just the jacket, and I was just like mind blown. Like that jacket was amazing, and like now I obviously want to get a lot more jackets just to have a variety of them.
Yeah, I'm curious having your ring maker, your gear maker, do some of your attire. Like, what was it like? And tell us through the process and how working with a gear maker is when it comes to your gear.
When it comes to my gear, it usually just comes down to like the ideas that I want. Like it with my gear maker, he's really like straightforward. If you just send him like some pictures like of what you have an idea, and he'll make it. But he's really like has those nice details of what you really specifically want on your gear. And I think when it comes to getting my new jacket, it'll be like the same style of this one, but just different, you know, exactly different colors, but you know, adjusted a bit to mine to where, you know, I think I'll keep it like that. Cause right now it's amazing, the jacket. I love it, but I think it needs those small details in my perspective of my scene, and I think I'll keep it like that, and I think that'll be a really great jacket. And that's how it comes to like me thinking of my gear to my gear maker. I think it's just mind to mind, you know.
Yeah, and has there ever been? Let's say the first draft came in, and you have your input. Does your ring maker have any say as well along with your designs, or it's basically just putting your feedback, and then that's the final product?
Well, he usually receives everything, and he kind of just draws it out sometimes, draws it out, or instantly he just tells me, "Oh no, switch this, switch that. Like I think this will be better." Or he kind of just sometimes it doesn't get me mad, but it just surprises me because sometimes I tell him what I want and he does something completely different, and it's
Okay.
just like, and it's just 10 times better, you know. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I think that's better, and I kind of just like that, you know, with the gear maker type. He just surprises me sometimes, or sometimes he just makes what I want, and it's like better, you know. He just has good ideas for what I give him.
Yeah, and what are some feedback that you would give to your gear? Again, we'll mention him later down in the episode, and we'll give him a shout out on the episode. Like,
For
what were
sure.
some suggestions that you would give to them when the first draft kind of comes to be? Especially, we'll talk about the jacket in particular because that had gotten through so many designs.
Yes, for sure. But like when it came to like some gears at first, it's usually like I tell him we usually struggle on trying to find like the materials for the gears. Like what type of like color, like color material, like you want it shiny, or do you want like scales, or like different type of materials but with one color. So there's like a million materials for like one color, and that's what we usually like struggle with like trying to make one gear, make it look like really amazing with that material.
Yeah, and we're gonna go back a little bit to a lot of your designs, whether it's in your mask or your in-ring gear. Has there been any mishaps that happened during a match that your mask kind of flayed out that get ruined unintentionally, or if your ring gear somehow destroyed itself? Has there ever been mishaps that you've come across when you're wrestling with your gear on?
Definitely, there's been like multiple, but I think there's two like that I can tell you, and that are like really funny to me because it's just like these funny things that happen, but it's just like those wardrobe malfunctions that you can't do nothing about, but it just happens. And so I was wrestling this one time in Laredo in a tag team match, and it was starting off the match, and I had the all black mask, the all black, and we were chaining, and then I think he grabs me in a headlock, and when I get out of it, all the hair just comes off, like it just
Oh,
all came off.
oh
So I'm
no!
I'm like wrestling with like the hair just flaying everywhere, like it's just ripped. It looks terrible. So I just stopped wearing that mask after that. That's why. That's why you don't see me with that mask anymore.
You just don't want to be embarrassed in another match. It's
Yeah,
like, thanks.
yeah. It just ripped all completely. So like I'm either thinking of getting another one of those, and then also in my when I wrestled for AAA in Monterrey, my one of my tights were just super like really tight for some reason that time,
Right.
and I was just there like either it. I was just thinking it's gonna rip. It's definitely gonna rip. Like there's no way. And like before wrestling and everything, I sit down on one of my chairs. I sit down and it rips like from the middle, like from the crotch, and I'm just there like damn like I can't do nothing about it. This is the only gear I have, and it's AAA, you know. So I was just like, I sent it, you know. I went up there and I wrestled with the gear like that. I showed. I appeared 2 times with ripped gear on AAA.
See, you committed. That's the thing. You committed. That's all.
Hell yeah,
And that's the thing with wrestling. You gotta sell. That's all you need to do is sell. If
definitely
someone calls you out, you still have to wrestle either way. It's like
for
I
sure.
have a match, and I'm sure ever since by then you've had spares on your or spare gear whenever that happens,
Yes,
right?
definitely. Now I carry like 2 or 3 gears extra, you know, for you never know what
Ah,
could happen.
oh my god! But at the end of the day, you went through the match, and did someone react after the match? Like, hey, by the way, your chunks got ripped. Like, did that happen after that match in particular?
Actually, no one knew about it. Like I was in
No.
no one knew, and I was just like, "Hey, that's cool," because I was wearing black tights under too, since I wear like black tights, and then I put on
Right.
my actual tights. So since the gear was black, it just looked like my actual gear, and everyone didn't. No one said nothing until I brought it up. Everyone was like, "What?" And then I showed it to them, and they're like, "No way."
Oh my! See, if someone was in this match and heard this episode, now they'll never unhear because like, oh, it actually happened. No one
Yeah,
found out until
but
now.
but it actually shows like in the YouTube videos and the matches. It shows like some in some areas where like you can just see it's just torn.
Hey, it looks like battle damage. Like that's a
Yeah,
good way
yeah,
of saying it. It's battle damage. That's all it
for
is.
sure, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm curious with any future designs that you have. Now that you've done your fair share of designs over the years, now that you've had all of these designs, like in the future, how do you apply all of these designs to making a new mask? If it comes to that, about designing a new mask in the future.
A new mask. I think it would just be coming like I also want them to like if I were to get a new mask, I would want people to recognize me but
Mm.
also have that different adjustment to where it looks completely different, but they recognize who I am. You know, like I don't just want to be a completely different person. Like switch like a whole complete turn to where people don't recognize me. But I would want to get a mask where people would recognize me and be like, "Oh, this was Epi Jr., but this is him now." You know. So I
Yeah,
think that
and
would be a great idea for us, a match switch up, and that would be an idea that I would want to do.
yeah, and I'm curious, especially with the designs you're going through, and we're gonna be close to wrapping up, and I want to ask this too, and with the ring gear that you've had over time, and the way that you wrestle, and the gear that you have on, what does your mask, what does your ring gear, what does that mean to you?
The gear, it means a lot, because I like to show what did like that's what I think of myself in my mind and what I walk in with out of that curtain. I want people to feel that presence of what I'm trying to give out. And I think it's just that presence of, a luchador, but he's just not any luchador. Like he's like the luchador. I'm trying to say, like he's this guy. He comes out and he's gonna give you a great match, and he's gonna, just impress you every time he comes out.
And your mask in particular, what does that mask mean to you?
The mask is it's everything, you know. I think it's something that I'll fight for if it would have to come down, you know, to get into a rivalry. And it just means a lot, you know. For like every time I see a mask, I'm always just like of one of my masks. I was like, damn, I've always wanted. When I was a kid, I would always be outside wanting to buy masks, and now I have my own masks, and kids are gonna be wanting to buy these. You know,
And
I feel like this mask. I want my mask to be like those like Mil Máscaras, Blue Demon. I want the whole world to recognize this mask one day.
and I'm curious, who were your luchadors growing up that really signify the mask while you were a wrestling fan?
When I was younger, well, I'm still young, but when I was a kid, I had a like Laredo Kid. I love his mask. His mask I think is my top one because just the way it is with the spikes, everything. I think it's just a beautiful mask. And then Volador Jr., he's also another one that I like to see because he has a lot of cosplays and he does amazing cosplays like Venom. He does like so many. He's have art like so many cosplays, and I think I'll get like ideas from him as well from those cosplays. And then I think also Rey Mysterio. You know, Rey Mysterio
Oh
is
yeah, of
just
course.
a legend. You can't miss out Rey Mysterio. So I think those are my top three. You know, masks that I love.
All right, awesome. So, we'll end our conversation on our series. I'm trying to workshop the name, so the name will not be here. It'll probably be in the next episode. But thank you
For
so much,
sure.
Epi, for having you on. And give a shout out to your gear maker. Where can we find him? And if you have anything to promote upcoming down the line for you.
For sure, yes. My gear maker is El Pony Jr. He is the gear maker and he's from Monterrey, but he's really good quality gear maker. He makes gears for Elia Park and his whole family, so it's like really recommended, really well gear made. And also, I have these shows coming up. I'll be present appearing in GCW in Houston and Dallas, and then I'll be in AAA in the 30th Sunday. So that will be my whole weekend. And it'll be a good weekend for me.
Okay, awesome. And thank you so much for having you on. All right.
No, thank you so much. I'll see you soon, man.
All right. See you then. All right.